Shalom, boys and girls. Welcome to Story Time with Rabbitz and Chrissy. I am reading stories for children ages 4 to 12 for the next 30 weeks on character building, because I see that's something that we lack a lot in today's kids. So we want to make sure that we as parents and as leaders of congregations are helping our children grow in good character. So our first story, we're going to learn 3 special different things of character to help build in ourselves. First one is how to be kind to animals. Second is how to have courage. Thirdly is how to have good judgment. And today's story is called the Coopersville Secret Society. Michael pounced on his friend the minute he stepped into the yard. "Hey, Jason," he said, "you got my test ready?" Michael's heart was thumping like the big bass drum in the school marching band. This was the day he had been waiting for, the day he might become a member of the Coopersville Secret Society. This society was such a special club, and only the most popular guys in the school were members. A person couldn't just join the society. He had to be invited to be joined by someone who was already a member. The club did really cool things together. They went camping and had a really special clubhouse. More than anything, Michael really wanted to belong to this club. His friend Jason was a member, and the club had finally asked Michael to join. But first, he had to pass a test that the members of the club had decided on. If he was successful, he would be a member in good standing. Jason leaned against the garage wall and grinned at Michael. "Yeah," he answered, "we got your test for you already. But let me give you a word of advice. Use your head, Michael. The test isn't as easy as it sounds." "Well, what do I have to do?" Michael wanted to know. "You see that basket over there?" Jason asked, pointing to a picnic basket swinging from the handlebars of his bike. "Well, we're going to go to Mrs. Barker's house down the street. You, Michael, are to catch her cat Tiger and put him in the basket. Then you're going to take him out to the edge of town on Willow Road and dump him out there." "You want me to dump the cat?" Michael asked. He thought he heard wrong. "Didn't you hear me?" Jason frowned at him. "What did you think I was going to ask you to do, dump the basket?" "You've heard the saying, a cat always finds its way home, haven't you? Well, today we want to prove it one way or the other." As Jason and Michael pedaled their bikes down the street to Mrs. Barker's house, Michael felt as if he were having a bad dream. For the last 2 days he had tried to imagine what test the guys would think of for him to do, but he had never thought of anything like this. He thought maybe they would ask him to climb up in the tallest trees in town, or maybe have him do 100 push-ups. That was the sort of thing he was expecting. But to dump a cat out at the edge of town, a long way from home? Outside the neat white fence that enclosed Mrs. Barker's yard, Jason stopped his bike and shoved the basket into Michael's hands. "Go on," he ordered. "You're on your own now." With dragging feet, Michael crept along behind the tall bushes that shut off the view from everyone in the house. When he reached the last bush, he was still several feet from the small striped kitten. Tiger was so cute, all curled up in a ball under a big rose bush. "Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty," Michael called softly. In his heart he was hoping the kitten would run away from him, but Tiger opened his eyes, pricked up his sharp ears, and stared at him. He stared at Michael's eyes with beautiful eyes of yellow as the roses on the bush over his head. He must have liked what he saw, because he got up, stretched, and began walking across the grass toward Michael. Michael wiped the sweat from his forehead. His stomach felt so sick. This little kitten would never find its way home from Willow Road. I just know it. But if he failed his test, the Coopersville Secret Society would ask someone else to join the club. He wouldn't get to go camping with them next summer. He wouldn't get to play in their clubhouse, a big tree house in Jason's backyard. Michael's thoughts raced and raced around and around like the horses on a merry-go-round. He glanced back to where Jason was standing, watching him. With a quick grab, Michael picked up Tiger and plopped him into the basket. "Shame on you," a little voice seemed to say. "That kitten trusted you, Michael." It was terribly still and quiet in the basket. Could Tiger have smothered already? Michael put his ear to the side of the basket and listened. What he heard made him feel even worse. The kitten was purring happily. "Come on, hurry up," Jason urged impatiently. Michael didn't even answer. Instead, he lifted the lid of the basket and set Tiger gently on the grass. "I'd never have any fun with this club, remembering what I've done to you," he told the kitten quietly. Slowly, he walked back along the row of bushes to where Jason stood. What a day this had turned out to be. "Why did you take the cat out of the basket?" Jason demanded. Michael's face turned red with anger. "Because I don't treat animals that way," he shouted. "I don't care if I did fail your stupid test anyways. I don't want to belong to a club with guys who do things like that." "Way to go, Michael," Jason said, slapping him on the back. And suddenly they were all there. All the members of the Coopersville Secret Society came tumbling out from behind Mrs. Barker's garage, where they had been hiding. "We knew you passed this test," they told Michael. "Well, wait, what's going on?" Michael asked. "I failed the test, didn't I?" "No, man, you passed it with flying colors," Jason told him. "If you'd taken the kitten out to Willow Road, then you would have failed the test. Don't you remember me telling you to be sure to use your head?" "So you didn't want me to dump the cat?" Michael still couldn't quite understand what was going on. "Of course not," Jason said. "If you had taken the cat out of the yard, I'd have taken him away from you and told you that you failed the test." Michael smiled slowly into the faces of the guys surrounding him. He felt good. His friends were the kind of guys he had thought they were all along. And he had passed his test. It was going to be so great to be a member of the awesome Coopersville Secret Society. Here's something to think about, children. I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and I would love to hear things that you learned about this story in the comments below. First of all, sometimes the right thing to do seems to be the wrong thing. How can we know the difference between the two? And then secondly, what is the most difficult decision you've ever had to make? Would love to hear your comments. Till next week, shalom.